Happy Wednesday and welcome to the Nursing Investigation series. We're going to break down what happens when nursing schools implement policies that just end up eating their own. If you don't know what that means, I'm glad you don't know what that means, but by the end of this series, you will. You don't start with how the conflict started. You start with how this outcome is even possible. So before we get into present time, we need to go back in time and figure out, how did I even get here? Who am I? But I would like to note, I am now living by a different set of rules that you don't have. So although I can't tell you everything that's happening, I can show you. Walk with me. A question doesn't always warrant a response, and most of the time, you won't get one. But a false statement will. I was born and raised right outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, and by that point, life had already started teaching me lessons. My brother and I are 13 months apart. I am the youngest. Then my mother got remarried. My father ended up moving on with another partner. He ended up having another child. So now I'm in the middle of two brothers, and that also brought stepbrothers into the mix. So I was the only girl, and my life was mostly surrounded by boys. This led me to start going to cheerleading practice, then to football practice, if that makes sense in any world. But point of it all is I was very well-rounded, and I think that really shaped who I am today and why I wanted to get into the nursing field. I feel like I can connect and relate to everybody a little bit. I always see something in myself in someone else. So as I grew up in elementary school, I actually got an award. I would get stars. I would get complimented. I was just so kind. I was somebody that could connect with everybody, no matter if you like books, if you like sports, if you were a girly girl, if you liked the emo phase, whatever your thing was, I could be like, yeah, I resonate with that. Yes, we can do black nails. Tomorrow we can do pink nails. Yes, we can listen to country. Yes, we can listen to rock. Like, I just feel like I'm very well-rounded. And then in middle school, as middle school will do, it has you exposed to more people of all walks of life, and things started changing. I was really confused with who I am and who I wanted to be, because everybody found their groups but me. And again, it's like, okay, I like this person, but I like this person too. And I don't know where I'm supposed to go if I'm just like everybody. How do I pick? Do I have to pick? So it was a good and bad thing, although I really like that about myself, that I can be kind to everybody. It was hard to build relationships with people. It was hard to have best friends that made everlasting friendships, because I could never allow myself to get too close with people. Therefore, they couldn't get too close to me. Like, I was never chosen first. And frankly, I never chose anybody else first either. And it's not intentional. It's just something I haven't grasped at that point in life to do, which made me feel left out a lot and just like an extra, if that makes sense. So getting into high school, same thing, but on a broader spectrum. So I feel like I kept that really good piece of me, but then I turned into a really bad piece of me. And that's where I collided with myself a lot and had a lot of problems. And when you don't pick your clique or your group in school, it can make you vulnerable to being the scapegoat for a lot of people. Rumors, gossips, and like I said, you're never chosen first, because other relationships are developing. They're hanging out every day. I'm hanging out with this group and this group. I'm just like an extra in the scene. And again, I love that about myself, but it definitely caused me a lot of hardships socially. And then getting into boys didn't help. That's where my track record started. I will get into that another time, but just know the domestic violence started early. I didn't choose the right men. The first one I chose was mildly domestic violence, and the second one I chose was the complete opposite. I'm like, go for the nice guy. Maybe he's not the cutest, but he's funny. Still ended up the same way. So if I can tell you anything, none of that matters. Whether they're the cool guy and they are popular to the guy that's not so cute but funny, hee like your best friend, they're both capable of these same actions. So moving forward, I get to 12th grade, right? I am on the brink of not graduating because now I am pregnant. My graduation day comes and I'm the only one wearing my hair up. What girl wears their hair up at graduation? It still bothers me to this day. If I can find a picture, I'll show it to you, because you're like, why would you do that? You gotta take pictures, everybody's looking at you. Because I had morning sickness, I was nauseous, I was very newly pregnant. So the next year goes by and I have to decide if I'm going to be a mom, stay in this relationship, or go to college. And at that time, again, I have no idea what I'm doing. You have to remember, back then, this is like 2012, 2013, social media wasn't what it was now. I had a chirp phone, I had a Nextel, never had a Sidekick, never had a BlackBerry. TikTok wasn't here. Social media was just evolving. Like, the YouTube videos just started coming out. So I didn't have resources, the education, the older women on here who are always giving advice to younger ones. I didn't have any of that. I was just going off of my daily life. So that was unfortunate, because I really didn't have anybody immediate in my life that took me through that pregnancy day in and day out. We were going from this house to that house, to this apartment, to that apartment. And finally, my mom had taken us in. She was gonna get sober and we were gonna live happily ever after. But unfortunately, it turned into domestic violence, which I do have another video on my channel explaining that, if you wanna know more about that. Moving on, this really set me up to either be on welfare forever or take the life I was given and do something good with it. So I started out waitressing, and then, So I started waitressing, working as much as I could. If you don't know, if you have children and there's domestic violence in a relationship and it passes a certain level of extreme, CPS will be in your life. So not only am I a young mom who just dealt with domestic violence, but I have nothing to offer my child because I'm so young. I have no assets, I have no car, I have nothing. So I'm like, I have to get my life in order and I have to do it fast because I could lose my child. So I'm waitressing, I'm working a lot, I'm deciding, okay, my mom's letting me live here, I'm not paying rent. So the money that I have can go to supporting my daughter and the extra money I'm gonna use to learn something to get a better job. So I start out medical assisting, I do home health aid work, I do CNA work, and then eventually I'm able to work in a primary cares office in a hospital. I also work in an endocrinologist office, and then I moved to gastroenterology. And that's where things really started shifting for me. I was a single mom, I had to grow up fast. I had to figure out how to survive, provide, and protect this new baby while still trying to better my life. So I never saw my daughter. When I was working at the hospital, I would get there by 7 a.m. and I would leave around 5. I would work as much as possible. I never saw my daughter. She hated me when she was younger. Not when she was a baby, but around like pre-K age, because I never saw her. And life started to get really heavy because I'm overworked. I'm educating myself. I'm starting nursing school. My mom and I aren't doing well. She starts drinking again. So much so, she ends up dying from it. And then, of course, that spills over into my work life. So I started to feel really misunderstood at work. I didn't look well, you could tell. I was falling asleep at my desk, so much so they thought I was on drugs. Really, I was just on sleeping medication because I couldn't sleep. I do end up doing drugs, but that's a conversation for another day. So eventually, after my mom died, I just had to quit. I had to quit. I had to do something else. I was like, I've saved up enough that I should just focus on school. So I moved in with my grandparents. We split the bills. So that leniency and what I had saved got me by until I finished school. So when I'm in nursing school, I'm working long hours, right? My grandparents are helping me. I have this extreme weight on my shoulders of, I need to do this so I can take care of them, I can help them, I can give back to them. I need to be able to tell my daughter one day, all this will be worth it. We won't be rooming with anybody anymore. We won't be in a studio apartment. Like, all of this has to be worth it. So I'm feeling the weight of everything, and it's coming down to the end of nursing school. Can you imagine? For those of you that have never been to nursing school, becoming a licensed nurse, in my opinion, was much harder than it will be in the future to just bridge to RN, MSN, BSN, NP, whatever you want to do. When you try to become a licensed nurse, that is the real foundation, and I feel it was harder than anything I ever did in my life and could do. Not only was I working every day and going to school, but you also have clinicals. You have to show up, and it's kind of like interning. You're working and not getting paid because that's how you learn, on the job. So to my surprise, when I finish all of my credits and have nothing to show for it, when I finish every board required credit, clinical hour, practicum, I pass every test just to get to what's called an exit exam. And I fail. This is where I start to get angry. This is where I start to get frustrated. So I'm going to take a breath before I keep going. So just sit with me for a minute. I'd gone through so much, and to be able to complete it all and have my diploma withdrawn, which means on my transcript, I have all my credits, clinicals, practicums, all my hours, everything is added up, but it says conferral date withdrawn, diploma withdrawn. I really started to reevaluate my life. I'm like, this can't be. This can't be. I have paid you everything. I don't owe that school any money. I do not owe them a course. I owe them nothing. Imagine what that does to somebody's mental state, especially coming from where I had recently come from and all the struggles I went through. And just to note, guys, if you're new here, if you haven't watched me for a while, or maybe you have, and you see me, my struggles, and I talk about them, I have been the girl that says, okay, I'm strong enough to not say anything. I'm not going to talk about it because that shows strength. That did nothing for me. You know what that did? That showed up in other ways. That showed up in health issues. That showed up in being depressed and having neuropathy even. When you don't exhale everything you've been through, it's going to show up in other ways. So no, I do not recommend being the strong person. It does nothing for everybody. Me coming out and talking about my struggles reminds people they're not alone. It educates them. And also, it's healing for me to speak, especially because I told you when I was younger, I never really got too close to anybody. I had some best friends here and there, but I was always secondary. I wasn't the first chosen. So having you guys, you're like my best friends I never had. So I'm venting to you. I'm taking you along this journey with me. So that might explain why I'm not going to show you every happy video. I am going to talk about my struggles, but I'm also going to show you all of this I went through. I still try to keep going. And if I didn't have kids, that probably wouldn't be the case. I would probably be dead. Which brings me to what happened after I found out my diploma was withdrawn. Like, no questions, no if, answer, buts. This is not happening unless you start from the beginning. You must start at the beginning, was my experience. I can't pay $30,000 again, half that, whatever. I can't repeat anything. I'm not going through all of that again because of an exit exam. I'm sorry, what? If somebody fails the NCLEX, they don't take nursing school again. They take a refresher course. They take continued education. They remediate as far as, doing some questions, taking a simple class on a weekend. They don't repeat past credits that are already paid for. That's insanity. That's insane for me to do that. I would literally go insane. So as I'm absorbing all of this, I decide to drive my car because I'm just so full of emotions I've never felt before. I'm angry, I'm upset, I want to drive through their doors. I don't know what to do. I get in the car, I start driving. I'm not doing anything wrong yet, but where I'm about to end up, something may have happened. A lady pulls out in front of me on the highway, conveniently. I crash into her, I break my femur. The whole right side of my body, something is messed up a little everywhere. I can't really walk again for the next 6 months. And I'm like, you know what? Since I'm going to be home anyway, what exactly do you want me to do? Like, are you sure there's not something I can do from home now that I can't walk, right? This has got to be along the lines of like a disability thing, right? They got to let me stay home, I'm thinking. So I email the school. I let them know what happened. And I'm like, if I'm sitting here anyways, and I can't probably walk greatly and lift 25 plus pounds, all the requirements a nurse would need anyway to work any normal job, we'll say, I probably can't do that for the next year anyway. So let's start this process because I'm not doing anything. Well, that was a no-go. My experience following that was not being able to do anything. My experience was, call us back when you're back in order, is my recollection. 6 months go by. I'm starting to walk again. I'm like, all right, it's feeling a little better. I still got to get this rod out of my way, but let me go back to the school. Let me try again. I try up for 6 months to see what I can do about this diploma because I'm just like, this can't be. Like, oh my. I experienced that their position remained the same. You must start over. My experience was also that that would not be free. I'm sorry. I've already done my FAFSA. I've done my Pell Grants. I'm allowed what I'm allowed at that time. That can't be refunded. And when a withdrawal is on your diploma, these grants and fundings, they look at all that. It's like failing a course. That doesn't sit well with FAFSA, if you know what I mean. So, do what any normal 20-year-old girl does. Reaches out to the state because who can fix this? I have to go above them because the dean, in my experience, wasn't helping me. I went to my teachers. I did what I was supposed to do, or so I thought. So now I'm like, who's above this person? I don't know, maybe a senator, the governor. Like, let me reach out to the state. So I did. And all I can do is wait. I had spoken with some lawyers at that time. And at that time, there was nothing really I could do without the law getting involved. And that's all I can say about that at this time. This is just the beginning. In the next video, we are going to dive in to the diploma dispute, the exit exam issue, and what it took to actually get my voice in public view. Because I wasn't aware that not everybody understands the court system, how it works, what it's like working with a lawyer. How do you even get to that part? What makes you even eligible to get in a courtroom? Now, I have had a lot of questions. At the end of every episode, I would like to engage with you guys and take a couple questions. So please, if I'm missing anything, if it's something you want to talk about, if it's something you're fuzzy on, please ask me. In our investigation, it seems I'm getting a lot of questions about why does it take so long to get answers? What is this time frame about? I want to be clear. As soon as I knew this diploma was not being given to me, like I said, I tried for 6 months. But also, the law works at its own pace. Some things you just have to wait for. There was nothing more I could have done. When we talk about lawyers, the judicial system, contracts, they are all pieces of the bigger picture. The law moves differently than life is how I see it. I could only respond to the process when time allowed it. Some doors in life, they don't open until someone acts. And that's how legal pathways work. And you don't always have that key. When it comes to first filings and what defamation even is, I want you to remember, someone filing something first in court doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't mean they're wrong. This is just the beginning of a conversation. This is the first chapter in a book. It doesn't tell you everything. So have you ever read a book or an audio book, and in the first chapter, the wife makes you think her husband's crazy, and by the last chapter, you're like, this girl fooled me. She was the crazy one the whole time. How do I say this? Unreliable narrators are a real thing. That's part of storytelling. As far as my academic record, yes, I am going to break that down, and I am going to show you what that looks like, so you can be educated like I was not, and know what I didn't know then, what I do now. I completed all my credits, all my courses, clinicals, practicums. I want you to hear me when I say that. Everything the Board of Nursing requires, done. Done, done, done. If I had a graduation date and a diploma on that transcript, I could sit for my boards. It comes down to that conferral that I don't have. Also, I can't just send my transcript to the boards and say, here, look at this. It has to come from, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody said it could come from like a third party, like Parchment, but I only know it to be true that the school can only send your papers. Like, it has to be a legit way for them to receive it. They're not just going to accept applications from anybody, because I need to verify this is all true. Like, you went here, you actually took this class. Like, they want to make sure it's legit. So that's where another part of the picture comes into play. Not only do I need my transcript adjusted, but I need my paperwork sent over. It's important to separate earned work from procedural barriers, is what I'm getting to. Like we were talking about earlier, I come on these channels of mine and I share a lot of hard stuff. I do. And I explain to you why. I don't need to explain to you that I keep going. That reflects in how far I've come. A victim mentality is, this happened to me and I'm going to do nothing, but I'm going to keep crying about it. That is a victim mentality. A victim mentality is not somebody going through a lot. And guys, it's okay to recognize that somebody's been through a lot and be like, oh my, and I thought I had it bad, or wow, I can really resonate with her. I've been through all of that too. Me sharing my stories of struggle and hardship does not negate yours, and it doesn't say nobody else goes through stuff. It's to educate people. It's to give the people somebody to relate to. It's for a lot of reasons. It doesn't just come down to complaining, if you will. I don't know how else to say it for the negative Nancys. It's okay to share your hardships. It does more service to the world to share them than keep them in here, and even yourself. But I don't need to defend myself on what I do when I get in these hard situations, because I just show you what I'm doing. My work, what I show you, the resilience, the perseverance, like, it speaks for itself. My decision to go public didn't just start now. I am circling back to it because, like I said, the law is a process. The law has its own timeline. I can't tell you everything, but I can show you. Speaking publicly now, also, it's my experience. It's my lived life, and I'm allowed to talk about it at any time I want. I really think the confusion here is the time frame in which people are just seeing and the procedural barriers. That is where the disconnect is, and that is why in this series we're going to discuss facts of law and systems, school systems, especially nursing school systems, that make it confusing. Also, while I'm thinking about it, if things look chaotic, if they feel confusing, if you feel like you need to believe the first thing you read, there's a reason for that. There is a reason for that. And you may just not know how it works, so I'm going to explain it to you. I just want you to think about this before we end. Imagine if your child came home from a private school and said, "Mommy, I have to repeat the grade because I failed my last test." Kid completely passed everything else, but he says, "They won't let me graduate to the next level because I failed my last test." Well, honey, was it a part of a course? Did you fail a course? No, Mommy, it's not even on my record. What do you mean it's not on your record? It's not on your transcript? It's not on your report card? No, Mommy. If I paid $30,000 to send my kid to private school and they gave him a last test that was going to predict if he could handle 5th grade and kept him back because he didn't perform in a way that would predict him doing best, I would be pissed. Even saying that out loud just seems insane to me. Like, how would you feel if everything you worked for was delayed for reasons you can't even comprehend or understand? Thank you for sticking with me. This was more opening the door to the series for you to recognize me as a person. And I wanted to answer your questions and give you the time and respect you've given me. I think our next video should be about getting into nursing school and what that process looked like for me. Again, to understand how this outcome is even possible, we have to start at the beginning. I don't want to leave anything out because this video might help somebody. It might make some changes. And although I don't know what the outcome is going to be, at the very least, I will keep fighting, not only for myself, but for others, for education, for fairness, for what's right. I don't like minorities being taken care of. I don't like minorities being taken advantage of. I don't like somebody who has a, let's say, 4.0 GPA taking advantage of somebody with a 2.0 GPA. I don't like people who know better taking advantage of people who don't. So whichever way this ends for me, I just hope that I can change things for other people so they do not have to go through this as well, because it's heavy. It's hard, it's heavy. When I'm at work and I have to answer the phone and it's another nurse, my heart breaks. It breaks in pieces because it's like, or when people assume I'm a nurse and I have to explain, it breaks me every time. Because how do you explain, I'm trained, I just don't have a date on my transcript. My school didn't send my name to the boards. How do you explain that? It's not easy, because the more answers I give, the more questions I get asked. And that's what this series is for. Imagine being stuck in the middle of what feels like a custody battle. You're the child, but it's like this decision will affect the rest of your life and your children's lives and other people you don't even know exist yet. All the people you could have helped, all the people, you know, all the things you could have done. At this point, I should have my master's. How do you get that time back? How do you make that right? And when we talk about length of time, I also want to leave you with this. This was another question I kept getting. If you graduated, you know, or didn't graduate, let me correct myself. If you should have graduated around 2019, roughly, give or take, it's now 2026. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for somebody who hasn't been in school that long? The same thing it means for anybody else. The same thing it means for somebody who graduated in 2019, took their NCLEX pass and became a nurse. They can continue working as a nurse because your college credits don't vanish. And my specific college credits don't need to be renewed. Maybe like 1 or 2 max, if like worst case scenario. But as far as my research, my experience, my resources, those educated in this that I've talked to, just getting your nursing license, this didn't require microbiology, for example. That may be something that needs to be repeated every so often. Even if that was a case, it's a class, it's fine. Let's stick to the bigger picture. Another thing, all right? And what if, you know, somebody does graduate and they choose not to take their NCLEX for 5 years, but they still have that ability because that's their choice, you know? Or some women who take their NCLEX, they get their license, they go to work and they decide they want to start a family, and they go home and they raise their child till they're of school age for 5 years and they go back to work. Are you telling me that they're not educated enough to go back to work? No. No. Do you see how ludicrous that sounds? You can't dictate what people do with their work life in that sense. You can come and go as you please. That is why there's refresher courses. That is why there's continued education, which the board makes sure of. So when you do need to recertify your license, if you've been out of work or not using your license, or even if you are using it, there's just things you do to keep up with it. Your heart, for most of us, is always in the same spot, and it's not going to change. We're always going to try and draw blood from the same spots, right? A normal BP is always going to be 120/80. Little things may change as far as like, okay, now we have a COVID shot. That's not things you repeat years of nursing school for. You know what I'm saying? That's what continued education is for through the board. Secondly, when you go to school, when you go to a college, their job is to educate you and prepare you and make sure you have the education to go to the board and get your license. Your school cannot dictate if you're prepared to be a nurse or not when you've passed all of your required courses, clinicals, everything. You've passed everything the board requires. Your school can then not say, you know what, I don't think this one is ready. That's not their call to make. That's the board's call. And then even so, if the board lets her fly, she gets her license. I see it all the time. Nurses get their license and they walk into a hospital, in an office, they don't know what to do. Why is that? Because the real education that matters, and I believe what tests your readiness to be a nurse and how good of a nurse you are and if this is the job for you, is what your hands-on experience is, how that turns out for you. Everybody starts from the beginning. Everybody needs to be trained, and that is from your employers, really. They're the ones that decide, is this person competent enough to be here, or are they a bigger liability? All nurses, anybody in the healthcare field, doctors, surgeons, everybody makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Nurses hand out wrong medications. I may make a bad judgment call. The doctor may miss a diagnosis. They may write the script wrong. The lab tech, she may forget to put, a CPT code on something. That doesn't make you not ready because you fail a test that day. That doesn't, and this is what I need to tell myself. This has taken my confidence away so much. It's taken my voice. I second guess myself. I ask dumb questions that I know the answer to. Because I was made to feel like I wasn't ready. I wasn't competent enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't good enough, when I damn well am, and that's what bothered me too. A computerized predictor is being used as a crystal ball. For whose benefit? If it was for my benefit, I would keep taking the same test over and over until I got a decent score. That would be fair. That would have been fair. Or, what Clarissa, come back to us when you've done 5,000 questions. Come back to us when we've seen you've put in the effort to try your best to give us a great score, to give yourself a great score. These are the scenarios I play in my head. I'm like, there's so many better avenues than what I was offered. And that's just my experience. I feel like there was something I wanted to say, but I forget. I hope this explains a lot, although I know you're just gonna have more questions. Thank you guys for watching. Somebody give this video a thumbs up if I should keep going. I just want somebody to listen. Maybe you can offer an experience you've had that makes me look at my experience, and maybe I can do something different. I just want to hear about your experiences, and I just want to bring back nursing in a way that supports each other. Like what's going on with the nurses in New York right now, and the union, and them wanting to be paid more. We are much stronger when we support one another in that sense, even if it's just emotional support. So thank you for listening. I will see you guys in the next episode, where we're going to break down getting into nursing school, enrolling into nursing school, and what that looked like for me. Bye, guys.